Okay, Likkutei Parshat Emor, page Lamed Aleph, first column, a little bit more than midway down. Today's class is sponsored by Dr. Yaakov Ganji and Dr. Shmuel Akaka and Avram Aradi and for the Shusterman of Avram David Ben Gittel. Okay, the Rabbi is explaining after mentioning that there's one group of malachim that says one time Kaddish. The second malach says twice Kaddish. Third malachim says 3 times Kaddish. So he explains that why does it say Imcha Mekor Chaim? With you is the source of life. It should say Ata Mekor Chaim, you are the source of life. Okay, so the Rabbi starts explaining that Hashem is not like the neshama in the body. The neshama in the body is divisible into 3 sections. There's head, body, and foot. But by Hashem, it's Ani Hashem Lo Shanisi. So that's what he elaborated on. So he says, like 5 lines past midway. This chayis that comes in the nefesh, is divisible into 3 different parts: reish, guf, raglayim, head, body, and feet. In each one of this head, body, and feet, kama ivorim pratim, are many detailed limbs. Al b'chlal, generally speaking, gimel b'chinas. Okay, what is he explaining? By Hashem, Ani Hashem L'Shanisi, there's no difference between Atzilus and Asiyah. There's no difference between humans and inanimate. There's no change whatsoever. And what it makes the different levels, what differentiates head, body, and foot? The amount of chayis it gets from the neshama, from the nefesh. The head gets the higher level. So you see from here, the fact that a greater vessel gets more shows that this is the power of the neshama that deals directly with the body. It dresses itself into the body, each level accordingly. Therefore, because this is a bigger vessel, so to speak, a more refined vessel, it gets a greater power from the neshama. Based on the level of the vessel, of the body, because the brain, the head, the brain is more refined than the rest of the body. Therefore, what do they get from the nefesh? The higher faculties of the nefesh. But this, that Hashem gives existence to the world, is not at all like this at all. By Hashem, there's no difference. That's why the pasuk says, Ani Hashem Lo Shanisi, which means Leishayich klal leimer etz leireish safe klal ki ani rishim u'achri, because Hashem is the first, Hashem is the last, and He's everything in between. So there's no difference, and this level of elokus that he's talking about, Hani Havaya Lo Shanisi, there is no connection between Hashem and the world. Because Hashem Himself is not at all dressing Himself into the world to deal with them directly, not like the neshama that is directly connected to each particular limb of the body, that this limb does this and this limb does this and so on. Therefore, in the level of chayis, life that Hashem gives in sustenance, Hashem gives to the world, is chalkus, because differentiation of levels comes when you're dressed internally in something, then you have a different level. A higher vessel gets more, a lesser vessel gets less. Like you explained before, because the head is a more refined vessel than the foot, so therefore the head gets more. But that is only possible to say in the chayis that comes into the kelim in a direct way, and then you could say that concept. Masha'en came by Yisbarach. But when it comes to Hashem, Sheyes and Mechayel Eilemis, this that Hashem gives life to the world. Ein Aidei Mislabish B'Teichen Klal. Is not at all by Hashem dressing himself into the world, because it's in Hashem L'Shanisi. Helkoch Shayach Klal Shum is Chalkas Klal. V'ikar Gam Achayish Shenim Shum Mimenu L'Achiyesam Kivin Shenim Mislabish B'Teichen. Okay? So one level, the aspect of Elokus is Hashem is removed from world. Unlike the nefesh in the body, the nefesh puts itself into the body, and therefore it's different levels and so on and so forth, and it's affected by the body. But by Hashem it's not like that. He said, V'zel Pirish V'inyin Kodesh. This is the first level of Kodesh. That Hashem is completely removed from worlds. Even though Hashem not only gives him life, but sustains him, actually makes him exist. Why? The fika therefore mean Hashem is totally unaffected from creation because he's above it. He's not in it. On the other hand, the nefesh in the body, the Alter Rebbe is right away in Beis is going to ask the question, but we find there's chalkus in the world also. There's Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, there's inanimate, plant, animal. I mean, there are all these different. So he's going to explain this in a second. But meanwhile, the Alter Rebbe explains that the chayis that Elokus gives into the world has nothing to do with the world, therefore it causes no change in Hashem whatsoever. Mashenk in the nefesh in the body, over there it permeates the body, therefore there's different levels in the body.
And that's the first Kaddish.
That's the first Kaddish.
So when a Yid does a mitzvah, which one gets affected? The Klali, Prati, or both?
All of the above. Not only that, the whole world gets affected. Not only the universe physically, all the spiritual realms get affected by a Jew doing one mitzvah. Okay, Beis. We need to understand there's also, in world, there's also different levels. Atzilus seemingly is a greater revelation of Elokus than Bria, and you see it in Asiyah. Even in this world, we say there's chalukim madreges daimim tzemei chai medaber. And generally speaking, mischalak al gimel b'chinas, just like by the body. The Alter Rebbe explained there's rosh, kuf, and regel. In world, you also have three levels. Bria, chvedi, berasi, v'tzayt of afasisis, which are the gimel elam is klolim, gan eden al elyon, gan eden atachnim v'elam hazeh. If you look at worlds, there's also a higher Gan Eden, lower Gan Eden, and this world, which is exactly similar to the nefesh in the body. So why are we saying in Elokus there's no hischalkus when in the world there is hischalkus? It's exactly the same thing that hischalkus haguf shebeguf adam of the division in the body. The same thing we find like this. Aretz is called Hadem Ragloi. What do we say? Nafteir of Rosh Chodesh. Koyamar Hashem, Hashemayim Kisi. The heaven is my earth. I'm in my chair. Aretz Hadem Ragloi. And the earth is my footstep, foot pedal, footstool. The Gadnei Natachten is Kamashal Aguf, where the Midas Aleva. Like we learned, Yud Vavki shines in the forward. The Yud is in Atzilus, which is Chochmah. Hey is in Bria. The 6 meters are in Yitzira. And Hey is the Asir, right? So where is the heart? In Yitzira. The Midas are in the world of Yitzira. Chabad is also in the Midas. The Ganei Na'ayin, which is Gilu Chabad Atzmer, Ein Tzav Baruch Hu Neshamas and Yeshiv and Nenin, like the Rosh Shabbai Mishkan HaSeichel. So the Alter Rebbe is saying, he's asking L'chayra, what do you mean Ani Avayla Shanisi? There's no Eschalkus in the world. There is definitely 3 levels. There's Reish, Guf, Regel, there's Bria, Yitzir, Asiya, there's Hadem Ragloi, and there's Midas, and Vim Kein Movement, Shachais, and Nim Shemani is Baruch Ba'ilams. Kamkim is Chalik, V'teichen L'chulukim Adregis. So L'chayra, the Alter Rebbe is asking, what do you mean by Alukus Ani Avayla Shanisi? There is this Chalkus in the world. And what's the difference between Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya? What's the difference between inanimate plant, animal, and human? Is because it comes into the Kalim. The Alter Rebbe is elaborate on each one of these things. But bottom line is, Alter Rebbe is asking, how do we say that Elokus is different than the Nefesh? Because this is Leishanisi, and this is Yashanisi. When L'chayr and Elokus, you also have the same levels like the Nefesh and the Guf. So we find in the Gemara, Shadim u'am shachas achayis meni yizbarach lo'ilmis l'seider am shachas achayis men nefesh beguf. Forget, the Gemara likens in brachas that he quotes. Like the Gemara says, Ma kadosh baruch hu malei es ha'olam, just like Hashem permeates the world, the nefesh permeates the body. So he's saying exactly that Elokus is like the nefesh and the guf. U'medrash tilim on the pasuk baruch hi nafshi. It says, Ma nefesh memalas hagov kacha kadosh baruch hu ma'as ha'olam. Not only is it the Gemara, the Medrash also says, just like the nefesh permeates the body, Hashem permeates the world. Vari'in she'neshama memala guf b'chinas eslapshus v'tfisa mamish, just like the neshama, nefesh in the body, dresses itself into the body. Im kain medamim kain inyan eslapshus achayis many baruch ba'olamis. So it is the change in the worlds. There's a L'chayra, he says, Heipach mashin is barlil. This is mamish contrary to what he explained before in the first us. Do yizbar kodesh umachaya es ha'elam shleidei eslapshus kanal, and he says, Vu klau godol b'teira. This is a tremendous. This concept of ani avayla shanisi is a fundamental. He says, Kaneda, like it says, Iu taf is b'kul almin. Hashem is grasped in the world, but the worlds don't grasp him. So the level of ani avayla shanisi is a fundamental aspect in Elokus. So how do you reconcile these two opposite things? From one side we say ani avayla shanisi, Hashem has nothing to do with world. World, there's no change in him, and that's it. And secondly we say, no, there is this chalkus. Just like the nefesh in the body, there's a differentiation between head, body, and foot, even in godliness. So he says like this. So what's the Alter Rebbe going to explain? Very simple. There's Mamala Kolam and there's Sefer Kolam.
But that's second.
Huh?
This is the second.
No, we're not there yet. No. He didn't really finish the
first one is totally removed.
Yeah, but he didn't get there yet. I mean,
On the first one.
He didn't finish the first one yet.
Oh, he's not?
No. I just said, yeah, this is the first letter of Kaddish. He says Kaddish means we move from world. So he says like this. There's no question that there's a lokus that comes into the world in a premius, and differentiates the various different levels, just like as chalkas and chayes and nefesh beguf. He says, but klolos b'china zayis chayizeh amislabish ba'ilmis. But this level of godliness that comes into the world is only ziva shchina levad. Is only the ray of the shchina. Mebchinas hanikra shchina, which is called gamki memala kolam. See, the Alter Rebbe is saying it like this: in the level of ani, not revelate, not a ray of ani. Ani himself is Leishanisi. There's a chilik between worlds and in world and all that stuff, that's the level. In Ziv, in a ray, over there you have different levels. How much the ray shines, and how more or less the ray shines. So that already, that level is like the nefesh in the body.
The Ziv is a part of him.
It's only a ray of him.
But it's him.
Is the sunlight sun?
Comes from the sun.
In sunlight, you can have different levels of how much the sun light is shining in the house. In the sun itself, there's no difference. It's only in the ray of the sun do you have a bigger keli. The windows open more, you get more. The windows open less, you get less. In the essence of the sun, there is no difference.
Yeah, but if the sun is shining in the room,
That's the ray of the sun.
It's the ray of the sun, correct. But it's still sun. It's ray of the sun.
What do you mean it's the sun? You get burnt looking at the sun, looking outside. You get burnt? Your eyes go blind? God forbid.
We're saying ray of the sun.
Yeah, a ray of the sun. In Ikeres HaKodesh, Siman Chaf, the Alter Rebbe is mechadish that Or me'ein Emor, so therefore Or also creates. But that's a big chiddush of the Alter Rebbe right before he passed away. But this is the concept of the ray of the sun is not the sun. You can have a window open bigger and you're going to have more sun. You're going to get more sunlight.
But if there's no sun, there is no ray of the sun.
So
that means
but how much sunlight comes into the house is dependent on the keli. How much sun, there is no difference of the keli. Because none of them can get it. The sun itself, not the ray. Okay, Peter, Shachayish and Nimshmani is Baruch Ustab Techelim, it's Mamish. It's only Ziv or Levad Me'ashchina Baruch Hu, Shebchin is Zev comes Lias Mamala Kolam. That level of Hashem could permeate, like we said. You have more room, the windows open more, you get more light, less light. Bchin is Slabish Vizchalkes Chol Elim Kfi Madrigosa Began Eden Al Yun Kach. This, the Gan Eden Elyon has one type of gili. Gan Eden Atachna is another type of gili. In the Bechinas Zesh, or Bechinas Mamalu Ka'almin, is called Alma Dis Galya B'Zoyar. In the Zoyar it's called, like we just were speaking, Yabosha. It's the Lemel Amal Dis Galya, it's the revealed world. V'atam, Ki Al Bechina Zu Nemer, B'Sari Echza L'Ka. The Alter Rebbe quoted the Gemara before that just like Hashem, the nefesh fills the body, Hashem fills the world, and so on. He said there's a pasuk that says, "Mipsari echse eloka." From my own flesh, I can see godliness. That means there is a direct connection between the nefesh and the body and elokus in world. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a mashal. And he says, Inyan Riya Zu is Mipsari El Nurem Sheyesh Gadu Nefesh Mechayah. What does it mean? From my own flesh, Mipsari Echse Eloka. From my own flesh, I could see godliness. It means like this. Just like I know I have a nefesh. I know you have a nefesh. I know they have a nefesh. I don't see it. I don't know what it is. I don't see it. But I see it function. The fact that the person's alive and is going and talking and walking and they're alive. I know there's a nefesh. There's no question, there's no doubt that there's some power keeping it alive, functioning. Otherwise it would be dead. Because the person realized when the nefesh leaves the body, as a nasa guf pogad kevin, it's like a dead corpse, like a stone. Like we see clearly when you go to sleep at night, and the neshama leaves the body, part of it at least. Kista the Chiyus remains a little bit of Chayis left, which is Shina Echad Misamach B'Misa. 60, sleep is the 60th of death. The Gemara says, therefore, you make a bracha every morning when you get up. Peger, on the corpse of an animal, you say the word peger. So that's what we say, the Gar Mason. We become a new creature. Even though we don't see physically, we don't see the nefesh. 1 second. No, it's not. That's what he's saying. I don't have to believe that you have a nefesh alive.
It's brain and the heart working.
What makes that function that a dead person doesn't have?
Brain and the heart.
What makes that function that a dead person doesn't have?
The brain, the heart stop.
What makes the brain function and the heart pump? Okay, let's take. What is the difference without this between a living person and a dead person?
A living person has a functioning brain and heart.
Okay, now what changed in the person that has stopped functioning?
They die.
Yeah, exactly. He died. What is death? The neshama leaves the body.
That's the Emor.
No, it's not. There's some, whatever you want to call it, you don't want to call it nefesh, call it, I don't know. But the fact is, a living person, everybody, it's not a munah. I don't see it, but there's no question in my mind that somebody has something functioning the body that makes the body function. We call it nefesh. You want to call it cake, call it cake. Well, what's the difference? But that is not emunah. That is mipsari echza is re'iyah. Re'iyah, it's the extraneous level of re'iyah, but it's the level of re'iyah we see, we know for sure that it's there. So what are we saying? Mipsari echza l'kah, the pasuk says, therefore the same way that we know that the body is existing from a nefesh, we can understand, not emunah. We can see that there's a God that's functioning in the world. Emunah is a much deeper level than that. Emunah is not that I see the world functioning. Avraham Avinu, when he was 3 years old, he could his birthday. That realization didn't come from Emunah.